Welcome everyone that is watching and that will be watching. I am Julian Catari from Jalapa, Veracruz, and I'm having a conversation with Blue Heron Woman who is going to enlighten us today with the 161st transmission session show of Ayni Living Conversations. In this version of the session, we will talk about the making magic of your life. The magic of your life, I guess there's always some magic, but there's also a lot of more magic that you can make happen. And
Right.
Blue Heron Woman is going to tell us how to do that. I guess that's an estimate of what today's conversation is going to be about.
Yeah. So we're going
Amazing.
to start with the ecology of magic.
Okay.
So when we think about magicians, we think about the guy in the black hat and with the tucks on the coattails, right? That makes rabbits disappear or pop out of hats.
Mhm.
So magicians, whether they're modern entertainers or indigenous tribal sorcerers, have in common the fact that they work with the malleable texture of perception.
Okay.
The most sophisticated definition of magic that now circulates through the American counterculture is the ability or power to alter one's consciousness at will. But no mention is made of any reason for altering one's consciousness. In tribal culture, that which we call magic takes its meaning from the fact that humans in an indigenous and oral context experience their own consciousness as simply one form of awareness among many others. So the traditional magician then cultivates an ability to shift out of his or her common state of consciousness to make contact with the other organic forms of sensitivity and awareness with which human existence is entwined.
Mm-hmm.
And only by temporarily shedding the accepted perceptual logic of his or her culture can the sorcerer hope to enter into relation with other species on their own terms. Only by altering the common organization of her senses will she be able to enter into rapport with the multiple non-human sensibilities that animate the local landscape. So magic, then, in its most primordial sense, is the experience of existing in a world made up of multiple intelligences. The intuition that every form one perceives, from the vulture soaring overhead to the fly on a blade of grass, and even, indeed, the blade of grass itself as an experiencing form, an entity with predilections and sensations that are very different from ours. That is magic. That's true magic.
Mm-hmm.
So we should not be so ready to interpret this as supernatural, nor to view it as realms entirely internal to the personal psyche of the shaman, for it is likely that the inner world of our Western psychological experience, like the supernatural heaven of Christian belief, originates in the loss of our ancestral reciprocity with the animate earth. And when the animate powers that surround us are suddenly construed as having less significance than ourselves, when the generative earth is abruptly defined as a determinate object devoid of its own sensations and feelings, then the sense of a wild and multiplicitous otherness must migrate either into a supersensory heaven beyond the natural world, or else into the human skull, the only knowable refuge in this world for what is unfathomable. In genuinely oral indigenous cultures, the sensuous world itself remains the dwelling place of the gods, of the numinous powers that can either sustain or extinguish human life. So it's not by sending out his awareness out beyond the natural world that the shaman makes contact with the purveyors of life and health, nor by journeying into his personal psyche. Rather, it's by propelling his awareness laterally outward into the depths of a landscape that is at once both sensuous and psychological, the living dream we share with the soaring hawk, the spider, and the stone silently sprouting lichens on its coarse surface that the shaman works magic by. And we can all do that because we're all shamans. if we can send our awareness out laterally. So the spirits of an indigenous culture are primarily those modes of intelligence or awareness that do not possess a human form. As humans, we're well acquainted with the needs and capacities of our human body. We live in our bodies, and so we know from the possibilities of our form. We cannot know with the same familiarity and intimacy the lived experience of a grass snake or a snapping turtle, and we cannot readily experience the precise sensations of a hummingbird sipping nectar from a flower or a rubber tree soaking up sunlight. And yet we do know how it feels to sip from a fresh pool of water or to bask and stretch in the sun. Our experience may indeed be a variant of these other modes of sensitivity. Nevertheless, we cannot, as humans, precisely experience the living sensations of another form. We do not know with full clarity their desires or motivations. We do not know or can ever be sure what they know, that we know what they know, that the deer does experience sensations, that it carries knowledge of how to orient in the land or of where to find food and how to protect its young, that it knows well how to survive in the forest without the tools upon which depend is readily evident to our human senses. That the mango tree has the ability to create fruit, or the yarrow plant the power to reduce fever, is also evident. To humankind, these others are purveyors of secrets, carriers of knowledge that we ourselves need, and it is these others who can inform us of unseasonable changes in the weather, or inform us of imminent eruptions and earthquakes, who show us when foraging where we may find the ripest berries or the best route to follow home, and that is magic. So by watching birds build their nests and shelters, we can glean clues regarding how to strengthen our own dwellings, and the animals and everyone else's deaths can teach us of our own. We receive countless gifts of food, fuel, shelter, and clothing, yet they still remain other to us and not magical. It is not only those entities that we do acknowledge as alive, not only the other animals and the plants that speak as spirits to the senses of an oral culture, but also the meandering river from which those animals drink, and the torrential monsoon rains, and the stone that fits neatly into the palm of the hand, and the mountain too has its thoughts and its magic. Our strictly human heavens and hells have only recently been abstracted from the sensuous world that surrounds us, from this more than human realm that abounds in its own winged intelligences and cloven-hoofed powers, magic. For almost all oral cultures, the enveloping and sensuous earth remains the dwelling place of both the living and the dead, and therefore magical. Right? The body, whether human or otherwise, is not a mechanical object in such cultures. It's a magical entity. The mind's own sensuous aspect, and at death, the body's decomposition into soil, worms, and dust can only signify the gradual reintegration of one's ancestors and elders into the living landscape from which we are all born. Ancestor worship in its myriad forms is ultimately another mode of attentiveness to non-human nature, and it signifies reverence for those forms that awareness takes when it is not in human form, when the human embodiment dies and decays to become part of the encompassing cosmos. This cycling of us humans back into the larger world ensures that other forms of experiences that we encounter, whether they are ants, trees, or clouds, are never alien to ourselves. Despite the differences in shape and ability and style of being, they remain familial. Our bodies have formed themselves in delicate reciprocity with the manifold textures, sounds, and shapes of an animate earth. Our eyes have evolved in subtle interaction with other eyes, as our ears are attuned by their very structure to the howling of coyotes and the honking of geese. And speaking of that, since it's like lately the coyotes are dragging my dogs out of the house at night to go dance with skunks, so they all come in the morning smelling like skunks. So we can add that to this magic. to shut ourselves off from these other voices and smells, to continue by our lifestyles, to condemn these other sensibilities to the oblivion of extinction is to rob our senses of their integrity and their magic, and to rob our minds of their coherence and their magic. We are human only in contact and conviviality with what is not human. And the more we speak about all the others, the less it is possible to speak to them. It is our culture's assumptions regarding the lack of awareness in other animals and the land itself, less a product of careful and judicious reasoning than of a strange inability to clearly perceive other animals, a real inability to clearly see or focus upon anything outside the realm of human technology, or to hear as meaningful anything other than human speech. How is it that we have become so deaf and blind to the vital existence of other species, to their magic, and to the animate landscapes they inhabit, that we now so casually bring about the destruction of?
Mm-hmm.
And so then we go into what does the magician do? A sleight of hand. The close alliance between traditional indigenous magic practitioners and their animal families has by now been reported so much in our modern West that it has become a cliche. As with all such stereotypes, the familiar phrases and hyped images, the witch's black cat, the medicine person's totem, function to hide a many-faceted reality whose complexity and practicality remain unexplored and unsuspected even by those today who have most need of the medicine of magic. The written word regularly draws both reader and writer into a style of awareness that is mostly closed to other species. So our commonplace practice of reading text has its deepest ancestral source in the indigenous hunter's careful reading of animal tracks pressed into the surface of the earth. But the recent transformation of this ancient craft into a purely human reading of our own tracks, trailing off across a page or screen, has made possible a degree of human self-involvement entirely unknown to our oral ancestors. We participate in the encompassing awareness with the whole of our body as other animals participate in it with theirs. The snow leopard tensed with its tense muscles, and the hawk with its splayed wing feathers. Every creature inhabits and moves through the same terrain, imbibing the same air, yet every animal filters this awareness with its particular senses, this magic. And its access to the whole is limited by the arrangement of its limbs and the specific style of its pleasures, by the way it obtains nourishment and the way it avoids becoming food for others. Each creature, including us as two-leggeds, has only a restricted access to the mystery of the real, the magic of the real. And as humans, we have compiled a great mass of data about the ways of the world, yet in a practical, visceral sense, an earthworm knows far more about the magic of the life of the soil than we do. And the vulture knows far more about the magic of the wind than we do. So to be human is to have a very limited access to the magic of what is. Science has tried to push past the carnal constraints by joining deductive reasoning to the judicious application of the experiment. Traditional tribal magicians or medicine persons take a different approach. They seek to augment the limitations of their specifically human senses by binding their attention to the ways of another animal. Steadily training his focus upon the pattern behavior of another creature, observing it closely in its terrain, following and interpreting its tracks, becoming familiar with its calls and its styles of stalking or foraging, the medicine person renders himself vulnerable to another non-human form of experience so that he can become that. And that's magic. And we can all do that. It doesn't take a shaman to do that. The more studiously an apprentice magician watches the other creature from a stance of humility, learning to mimic its cries and to dance its various movements, the more thoroughly his nervous system is joined to another set of senses, gaining a kind of stereoscopic access to the world, a keener perception of the biosphere's manifold depth and dimensionality. Magic doesn't sweep you away. It gathers you into the body of the present moment so thoroughly that all our explanations can fall away. The ordinary in all its plain and simple outrageousness begins to shine, to become luminously impossibly so. And every facet of the world is awake, and we are within it. The deeper we slide into the magic material density of the real, the more we can find there is nothing determinate or predictive about existence. The inexhaustible mystery cannot be domesticated. It is wildness incarnate, and reality shapeshifts all the time. So then, out of that, how do we make magic of our life? With passion, purpose, and the power of desire. And some say the shards of the cosmos were created from desire. A desire to know, a desire to feel, a desire to become something new. Some say that the limitless, the great zero, the all, sometimes called God herself, or by so many other names divided for the sake of love, was to better know herself. Some others say that it was just time for change. Some say that things exploded from the heat of this desire. They say as time stretched, becoming linear, some things moved further and further apart, while others drew themselves back together to form new shapes, different colors, or strange and beautiful harmonies that became new notes altogether. And some say we can do this too. Our unique sparks remember their connection to the whole, and we can follow the greatest star desire and join the cosmos in dancing forth creation. We create worlds with our lives, our loves, our visions, our work, and our joy. So what is stretching out inside of us? What in your soul longs for reconnection? What feels the greatness of unfolding mystery when you gaze upon a marigold or look up at the stars? What in you might explode in a brilliant rush of heat and light? And follow that. That's magic. Magic, no matter how clearly planned, includes the elements of chance. That is the beautiful surprise of co-creation. To work magic is to dare. And finding your divine vocation in the world is a chance to risk what feels unknown. To find your soul's work or vocation or arting, follow your heart's desire. We weave the strands of destiny with the multiverse. We can take what is, what has been, and what shall be, and weave in strands of longing, will, and intention. In feeling and acknowledging that we are co-creators of this world, we take our lives into our own hands, weaving our will into the fabric of being.
Computer trouble?
Yeah. Ours are not only the threads that make the patterns of the world we live in, they are just as necessary as all the rest. So, to whoever's listening, will you dare to take up the magic that is your life? Will you answer the call of the cosmos to your heart and soul? Will you give into resistance or will you step bravely toward the fire burning at your core? Will you say yes to the calling of desire? That's how you make magic of your life, by saying yes to the calling of desire, because our lives are shaped by the end we live for.
Mm-hmm.
We are made in the image of what we desire.
Wow.
So it's time to take steps toward realizing, courting, and manifesting desire. And we do this with the 4 powers of the Sphinx. To attain the sanctum regnum, the knowledge and power of the magi or magus, the one who's truly a magician who can co-create with the universe, there are 5 conditions. And these 5 conditions are to know, to dare, to will, to keep silence, and to finally manifest your desires. When we bring these 5 powers together into a whole, it sparks our soul's purpose into a fully active state and enables us to share our gifts with the world. To claim sovereignty over our individual kingdom, our body is to step fully into our divine vocation, becoming a co-creator of the unfolding cosmos. So give yourself the gift of opening to that purpose. Sphinxes appear in many cultures. They act as guardians, challengers, and dispellers of harm. How these elements are represented varies from culture to culture, but they mostly all have human heads and animal bodies. So let's consider a sphinx with the head of a man, the 4 paws and shoulders of a lion, the wings of an eagle, and the flanks of a bull. The soaring height of the eagle provides the shift in mental perspective that transforms information into something more, to know, deep knowing. The lion represents the ability to live in pride and claim the power of your intention, which is to will. The human is the cup-bearing Aquarius, who shows that we hold the vessel said to represent our heart and our courage, which is to dare. The bull is solidity, strength, and the ability to be still and guard the mystery, to keep silence. So to approach this sphinx is to acknowledge that we are ready for our lives to change. And the more we realize the whole cosmos is in process, the better able we are to follow our own flow, to forgive our mistakes, although there really is no such thing as a mistake, to celebrate our successes, and to recommit continually to our purpose. Consistently successful people find ways to commit themselves and their desires on a daily basis. Everything they do, work, rest, play, spiritual practice, supports their desire, whether they've named it or not. They realize that to live happy, healthy, sustainable lives, they need to follow through on their commitments to themselves. There is no easy pass. There is no hack. The only way through is to engage your body, mind, and heart. And the only way through is to face the Sphinx, to seek out the deeper questions and do the work. And the work is the power of desire. Desire is life's energy so that we can move forward in the work of our God, your personal God, right, which is your purpose, your destiny, your fullest filling of life. Without not leaving here to go to heaven off planet somewhere. It's living your fullest fulfilling life. Without acknowledging desire, we languish in our life and never dedicate ourselves to our divine work. If we each have our own soul work, if we are all unique and special, what does that mean? Does that mean my path never entwines with yours and I'm always out doing my own thing? Never. No, it doesn't. Mm-hmm. It means that we each have a work that is of utmost importance, and so does everybody else. It means that while our expressions of life power may be different, there is a sameness to us as well. So we share common ground and common experiences. We are all special and unique, one of a kind, and yet in many ways we are just like everyone else. And this realization helps us keep balance by avoiding us to help denigrating our own contribution, and it also helps us keep from elevating ourselves above others. Mm-hmm. In our differences, there is beauty. He dances, she sings, he parents, she plants, right? It's differences. All of this is necessary to the healthy functioning of our biosphere, or the metaphoric garden of God herself. In seeking out our soul's desires, we have the opportunity to see our deepest self. In manifesting our will, our desires in this world, we take our place as the magicians, co-creator of the cosmos and full participant of this gorgeous earth. Just as a water molecule in a raindrop is ultimately drawn to the ocean one way or another, no matter how long it takes and how many incarnations it must go through, so too is your awareness drawn to its source. Kabbalists say that love operates in the same way. Love is based on a yearning for completion, to be whole, to be harmony, to be connected, and to be free. The power of love. The ancient pagan Greeks spoke to this quite clearly. The soul's longing to return to a state of pure connection is directed by eros. We tend to think of the erotic as having something to do only with sexual titillation. The erotic does deal with sex, but sex in a far more expansive way than our current overculture presents. Eros is the sexual impulse, the tension that moves planets around grandfather sun and draws the drop of water to the river and draws the whole soul home to its source. Eros and desire are basically the same. It's our heart's wish for deep fulfillment. And this completion is the integration of ourself as a human doing our divine work in the world. To be complete is not to be static. To be complete is to have realized that our deeper purpose is to live in harmony with the field of life that is God herself. Holy Mother.
Mm-hmm.
As we live our life, something often tugs at us. We want something out of life, whether or not we are certain of what it is. For many of us, the tugging begins in simple ways. Others get a lightning bolt. Yeah, I got lightning bolts. It started in simple ways and then lightning bolts. So regardless of how desire arrives, what we do next says a lot about our domestication and our relationship with ourselves. The tugging can manifest itself in adolescent rebellion, like the midlife crises. A married man going out and buying a Ferrari at the age of 40, right? Midlife crises, or a myriad of other ways. Our desires call us to move from what feels ordinary into living the extraordinary. So we have to know our desire. And there are many ways to approach this power of knowing. We can study books, ourselves, and the world. And then we take time to assimilate our study and allow the information to deepen into knowledge or wisdom. Given enough time and a good dose of passionate engagement, knowledge expands further into wisdom. And knowledge is the result of taking information into yourself and making it your own. Engaging the power to know is helped by the perspective of the eagle, the first part of the Sphinx. When we speak of knowing our desire, when we begin from a place that feels a lot like faith. And I can speak to that. Absolutely. Right now I'm living in full faith. Desire connects us to ourselves and the flow of life. So before coming to a place of knowledge, we first need information, experience, and some level of integration. Knowledge is not like the goddess Athena, who sprang forth from her father's mind full blown. You cannot think your way to desire, to your outcome of your desire, but your thoughts help you gather information, assess it, give it context, and name it. And naming is a powerful activity, as we see from fairy tales. Next comes learning to listen and listening to learn. By opening to listening, we open to the whispering of the sacred to our soul. Saying to yourself and to the cosmos, I seek the power to know. And in seeking this knowledge, I begin here within myself is the way to open the door. Why do we run so hard from listening? Well, listening is the best way to get clear information that can be digested into knowledge. And I could reframe this context of listening into allowing yourself to be reached. As Father Gregory Boyle, the Jesuit priest who started Homeboy Industries, constantly says, he teaches his staff constantly to let themselves be reached by the homies, by the gangsters they work with. That it's the same thing as listening. And whether you're reading the book, you can't say, well, I'm reading the book, I can't listen. Yes, you can listen. You can listen with other ears other than these. You can listen with everything and allow yourself to be reached by the words on the page. That is all listening. But we would rather be busy, scan through Instagram constantly, or pile on excuses or numb ourselves out. Anything rather than to slow down and take enough time to take in what is really present. Slowing down enough to listen and ask questions creates a space for a richer relationship with the world around us, with ourselves, with nature, and the other humans with whom we interact, as well as the gods. When we allow ourselves to listen well enough with our whole being, to be present with the vibration of the earth and the person or task in front of you, when you allow the time and space to enter your awareness, you don't have to race to finish the unknown. You can hear the voice of someone else supplying words you might never have come to on your own. Or read the words, same difference. And now you can speak with greater authority and confidence. When you open to deeper states of learning, those not run by avoidance, habit, hubris, or fear, you can know yourself better and teach others better or guide others better. Be reached by others also. When you allow the powers of air, thought, and speech to flow around and settle within you, when you're not racing to finish the sentences written by the universe, you are allowing the space for a deeper relationship with yourself and the whole cosmos in the process. So what facets of desire are lost to you because you assume your story is already written or that you know all the answers? Or what facets are lost because you think you can never know that your ideas and dreams can come into reality? Listening enables you to be a better friend, a better lover, a better teacher, as well as a better companion to yourself, to nature, and to the limitless divine. True listening is never self-effacement. You bring the whole of yourself to the process. When you truly listen, you aren't just waiting for someone else to decide something so you can get on with things or so that you don't have to decide for yourself. When you listen, first listen to the parts of yourself that are curious, that might be in avoidance, afraid, angry, or proud, and then you can take a breath and sink into allowing those parts some space, along with the spaciousness of not knowing. And so then you can open and reach. Oh, open instead of reaching.
Mm-hmm.
We reach constantly for something. Reaching is the way that our overculture teaches us to fix things. We are taught to fix things from the outside in rather than working from the inside out. And to know yourself requires the recognition that you do not know. What would your life be like if you chose to take 10 minutes to sit quietly and watch the birds in the morning or sit in front of a candle in the evening? What would your life be like if you took time to focus only on sinking more deeply into yourself from this deeper place, open out and listen with your whole being? Deeply listening makes it possible to get a glimmering of knowledge about what your desire is and where it wishes to lead. You cannot know your deep desires or your place in the world if your mind is rapidly flitting from one thing to another or bulldozing through your life, taking hold of every emotion. So to know desire, you must begin with self-knowledge. And to court desire, you must train yourself toward desire. Most of us don't know what our desire is. We think we desire a new vehicle or we did that. No, those aren't desires. Those are just superficiality. And once desire is ignited, you have the power to shape yourself, your life, and your landscape. Start with something that is both simple and quite difficult, even dangerous in a liberating way. And so you start with these words to the whole of the cosmos. Mm-hmm. I desire to know my mind. I desire to know myself. I desire to live a life of clarity and purpose. It's difficult to create the life you desire if you cannot catch a glimpse of it. Opening space in your thoughts and habits with the above words helps simply because now your imagination has room to work. Desire is persistent and guides you to an integrated life. Self-knowledge and self-awareness is the key to opening your life to your desires, your richest destiny, your soul's work that you truly love. And so the work of your hands and mind now becomes the work of your heart. And when you are self-aware, you have access to greater generosity and everyone gains. And when you have done a measure of work toward knowing yourself, you generate energy from your essence, your being, and you live, move, talk, and laugh from that. And everything starts falling into place because you're living a truly authentic life. So let's investigate the word authentic. It gets tossed about liberally nowadays in the New Age world, especially with little clarity, to mean whatever someone wants it to mean very shallowly in the moment. It can mean, I need to show you my vulnerable underbelly so you can see how truly sensitive I think I am. Or it might mean I can express my anger and irritation onto you because that is how I really feel right now, and you made me feel that way. And in both these cases, being authentic now means I am acting out whatever emotion feels most present to me at the moment, or I wear these clothes, listen to this music, hold that opinion, and you can't change me because I'm being authentic. None of these uses of the word authentic show that the person has done the hard work of sitting with themselves on a daily basis, observing their own thoughts and emotions and watching their responses to outside stimuli, facing demons, shadows, and desire to know what they truly want. So to be truly authentic, to know ourselves, we need to be in touch with as many parts of ourselves as possible. And we need to have examined the ways in which these parts work with and against one another. And most of all, you need to be in contact with the part that is connected to your smallest inner spaces and to that vast reaches outside of yourself. This part is often known as your genius, your soul, or maybe your guardian angel, or your guardian of destiny. And this is when you become authentic and can say, this is who I truly am. All of me, animal, human, and divine. Plutarch once said, for the correct analogy, the mind is not a vessel that needs filling, but wood that needs igniting. So what triggers or lights the fire of your desire? The fire of your desire, well tended, can ignite your whole life, illuminating your passion. And passion, or eros, causes you to act from a place of rooted love. This love, or munai, is a kindling of something that feels so true it lights up the world. So then we need to go into needs. What are the difference between needs, wants, and desires? Because we get confused with needs being our desires. So in investigating this power to know, it really helps to get clear about the differences between wants, needs, and desires, as well as between fantasy and desire. These are easy to confuse, partially because of the way we use English, and also because of the way we aren't trained to discern. When it comes to looking at ourselves, we generally tend toward avoidance, self-aggrandizement, which is making yourself bigger, right, to better, putting yourself on a pedestal, basically, or self-deprecation, hating on yourself. So how can we know ourselves under these conditions, let alone figure out if we want something, need something, if we want something or need it? Wanting something is fine. So is needing something. We can want and need on many different levels, and we can substitute the words for each other, causing confusion. And now we compound the confusion by adding desire into the equation. Desire is a driving force. It's an abiding wish, a deep well, a guiding light, a burning fire. My desire to be an RN was a driving force, a registered nurse. Absolutely, it was a driving force. Absolutely. The same with my daughter, Alexis. She wanted to be an archaeologist, and that was her desire. It was her driving force. Want is a component of desire, but it is not the whole of it. So when working on discerning your desires, it's a good idea to watch your language around want and need. Saying you need something when you really want, it confuses your emotions and makes it difficult to communicate to yourself clearly what is going on internally. Wants come and go. Even needs can ebb and flow over time, but desire crops up again and again. It is the thing to which we always return, the itch that doesn't get scratched. Desire contains want, but not only want. It also includes a need that arises from heart and soul, and we feel this need on a more cosmic level than the need for food and on a deeper level than the need for physical exercise. Desires run very deep. Wants are very shallow.
Mhm.
Desires can be spoken of as the wish, which is a profound sense of desire that suffuses your whole being, causing you to want to work hard enough that you will do almost anything to pursue it, risking physical challenge and emotional discomfort, and figuring out how to arrange time in desire's favor. Moving toward desire requires a willingness to take risks. Desire should fill you with energy, with spark, with fire, and the wish to move forward. Yet it should not consume you and eat your life energy. It should spur you toward learning, practice, and other applications of will. It may enable you to dare to take risks you didn't know you could even chance. And sometimes it won't drive you until you become ill or abandon your life or stay up all night every night. But this is actually obsession, not desire.
Mhm.
Obsession eats your life energy while desire and passion feed it. Passion is full engagement with life, and desire is a goad toward that passion. Without desire, there's no entry into passion. And without passion, there's scant fuel for engagement. Without engagement, there is less and less presence. And without presence, it is harder to feel whole, the wholeness of enoughness, the sense that your heart and soul have met this moment and that this moment can meet the rest of your life. Desire and passion are energies that enable us to develop more will, more autonomy, more skill at driving our lives, and therefore magic, making magic of our lives. The idea of desiring, knowing that this is something you want, leads you into will, into building support for the knowing. And this leads you into risk, into daring to push a little further than you thought you could. And this then leads you to the silence of integration and gestation, leading to deeper knowledge and mastery, the gestating of the desire to give birth to it. Desire is like falling in love. Desire is also to follow a star setting off on a journey with an uncertain end, risking safety for the unknown. And so following the course of desire is not always easy, but you court your desires by choosing to do so. Take desire out dancing. Take your desire out dancing. Listen more carefully to your desire, knowing that in doing so, you are courting not just your personal desire, you are courting the desire your soul has for the mystery that first divided itself for love. And when you know yourself and kiss desire, your whole world comes alive, and your life is magic.
So is your life magic or isn't it?
Right.
So
Have
that
you kissed desire?
this has given a huge revelation, and it can be summed up as the how deep are you willing to go?
Yeah.
And be willing to see how shallow you are. That's, I guess, the big challenge.
Yeah.
That keeps people from getting where they want to go. Because then the first step, you said, is knowing yourself. The first step is knowing what your desire is. And
Right.
and we need some help in that process. I think we need guidance.
And desire is a whole lot different than just a better job to make more money. That's not desire, that's want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and wanting another house, or wanting to be somewhere else, or even like wanting this person or that person. First, you have to know what you really desire. So this is really key, and this is going to take us into getting to know the language of plants.
No, no, we're leaving that alone for a while. I still have to develop that.
Okay.
That's coming. We're going to continue with this, but with the four insights of magic. The four
Okay.
insights that can make magic of your life.
The four insights, like the kind of like the four agreements, maybe.
No, insights.
Yeah, I was trying to find a relevance or something that would it compared. It can. I like the fact that it's four, like four directions. So.
Oh, this comes from the Leica, the day keepers. So
Okay, so this is really fascinating, and
or the earth keepers of the Leica. Did I say day keepers? The earth keepers, the Leica
you
earth,
said day keepers. Yeah, I was thinking about calendar keepers.
earth keepers.
So the four insights of
Yes,
of
that
magic.
can help make magic of your life.
It can help make magic of your life. This is for next week at same time, 6:30 Central Standard Time. Everybody here watching is invited, and everybody watching is invited to. I was talking to a friend, and he says nothing's more popular today than having someone tell you what to do. So this is a clash for me, where because you do see that people need maybe not being told what to do, but a little bit of a spark of, let's call it, inspiration.
Yeah.
And from that, then they need to know. And anybody here, I invite them to listen to the fact that I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think that comes because we've talked about this in a few weeks ago. We've become robotic, right? So because we're robots, we think we're not listening to our desire. So yes, what he's saying is very correct. Everyone who lives in a city is very robotic or works. They always need someone to tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm. And
you might think, no, I don't. I go to the gym by myself. Yeah.
That we believe in autonomy, that we believe that you have all the power within you, and
you don't need anybody to tell you what to do
by someone that is going to make you believe that you're going to be told what to do.
Yeah.
This is not the place where that happens, but it is a place where we need inspiration, and you will get the revelation that part of the desire is to come together and to leave the isolationist paradigm and create a community, create a family, and create a world that is in balance for the next 7 generations. That's what we invite people to. And all you need is your intention, your willpower, your desires, to find your inner desires. And of course, we then guide in this process through joining the OWWL Dojos, through becoming involved. The first step is to become involved, is to manifest your intention to become involved. So that's the first step. And with that, I guess we are done.
Yeah, we're done for tonight.
Okay, so see you everybody next week. Waterfalls of Blessings.